I'm definitely disturbed by the imbalance in nature. Any little imbalance in nature disturbs me. I feel we are responsible for that imbalance. So we have to address that imbalance in art. That's the only way I can address it. I can't address it through talking. I can just address it through feeling it on canvas. Actually, it was a gift from Kashmir. It was born out of the turmoil and the insurgency. Everything hits you and everything makes something out of. Every disappointment has its own. हमने अपने इरादों के टूटने से अल्लाह को पहचाना.
This is Unbox with Tunvey, a podcast and a YouTube show where we try and unravel, understand human behavior through conversations with people who've achieved success, lived unconventional lives, broken some barriers, and are doing their best to contribute something to the rest of us and to the rest of the planet. Today, I have with me someone I admire and respect a lot. He's a filmmaker, he's an author, he's a poet, he's a painter, and he's a fashion designer and has done a lot to uh, save the art of chicken curry. And he's someone that we all know of fondly because he's the director of a movie, Umrao Jan. I have with me none other than Padma Shree Awardee, Mr. Muzaffar Ali. Hello, Muzaffar ji. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us. You've done so many things across different forms of art, but is art your guiding force in life?
Well, in a way, I followed my heart, and for me, aesthetics is a very important way of looking at life, balancing it with humanity and certain concerns which I face as far as the world is concerned, where I live, the environment I belong to, the culture I'm born in.
That's all sort of your
Yeah,
DNA.
everything is connected in a way. One thing is I've just followed my heart and have not compromised.
Yeah, I think that's true of the project choices that you made over the years. Uh, because every film of yours, I mean, people still talk about Rajan like um, it was a work of art. It was a beautiful and a powerful story,
But
told wonderfully.
yeah, actually, film is the most difficult medium because it has too much
Too
to
many
do with the
variables.
world and too many people involved and too much money involved. And I don't think in terms of money. I just feel like I do what I should do. Like, I don't care whether my film is a hit or it's not, as long as I feel it's important.
Mhm.
So, like, Rajan was to me, then after that, I made Agaman. And for me, Agaman is and will always remain very important because it's dealing with sugar. And sugar is big politics. It damages the environment and your health. And I think the less said about it, the better. So I think it was an important film.
Yeah, it passed a very important message.
It did.
You've been painting your whole life. I was reading somewhere that you used to get a lot of awards when you were a kid, and in your art. But I know in certain circles, people know your artwork and they know that you paint. But I think for the vast majority of people, they don't realize how much it's a part of your everyday life.
Well, as far as painting is concerned, it's a very intimate dimension of my art. And I feel I just paint to prepare for something which is more public. And so painting has been a very intense, intimate way of preparing to face the world. Even films, I've sketched them all out. I've painted them often. So for me, painting is a very intimate way of looking at feeling things, and I'm not too certain about showing them.
They're your they're reflection of your thoughts or your feelings, or is that a way you
People seem
process
to
it?
judge you strangely. They say, "ये क्या है? ये क्या है?" I don't want to answer too many questions.
I think something came and I did it, and I don't necessarily want to have a whole debate about.
No, now I'm more prepared. Recently I've indulged in a lot of artwork. I had an exhibition in last year.
Yeah, at Bikaner House.
Yeah, we showed about 100 paintings, and I was ready to face the world. So, but still, I mean, there are a lot of paintings that are connected with my films,
Oh.
films which are not untold stories. So, like for instance, I was making a film in Kashmir, Zuni, and there was something more than what met the eye. Something that was going on inside me, a certain kind of a journey through nature, through aesthetics, through a human predicament, through poetry, through music. And it's unfortunate that film couldn't see the light of day. But now I feel maybe a series of paintings
Do
could
justice
tell
to
the
that
story.
story.
Yeah.
So
But
tell me,
sometimes, I feel that these paintings could be more intense than the film.
because they stay with you,
Yeah.
and if there is, it's not something that you see and it's gone after 2 hours or 3 hours. They stay with you.
I think films have to stay with you. If they don't stay with you, then there's something wrong in the way you've told the story.
Yeah, there are some movies that stay with you.
Like Rajan, I remember myself the whole.
I saw it when I was very young for the first time, and it still stayed with me. I've seen it a couple
So
of
it's
times
a
after
stay
as
with
well.
you film.
Yeah.
And I think all my films are like that, except that some films may not have been
Mm.
seen widely, so they stay with less people. But they definitely stay because I keep meditating on a frame. I keep meditating on what goes into a frame. I keep thinking very deeply about every little play of light and shade on the face. So for me, the face is it's a big story.
So tell me more about this. When you say you meditate on a frame, is it that you sort of live with each frame over and over and over again? Is
See,
that
there
what you
are
mean?
many kind of slices to that. In the sense that there's the first slice is when I write it, second slice is when I sketch it, third slice is when I, decide what is going to go into it, what time of the day, what emotion that frame has. And then finally, when you sit behind the camera, sit with the monitor, then the frame changes radically. I
So
mean, then I keep looking at the monitor and I keep wondering how it can be something very different. Maybe the cameraman doesn't understand. Maybe he does understand. Maybe he does something that I can't see. But I have to meet him there and take him further. You know what I mean?
you're constantly pushing the envelope, or you're constantly looking
Yeah,
at what more can be
yeah. So
done.
my time is spent on meditation, preparation.
That is so beautiful. Is that what has helped you deal with the ups and downs of life? Like Zuni was a project very close to your heart, and it didn't see, at least the public didn't see it completed, and it didn't see light of day. And I know that it was also a huge financial loss at that point.
Yeah, into
You
big
were
trouble.
born to royalty, and then you decided to move into advertising and then eventually filmmaking. So you were born to a certain kind of privilege, and then you kind of went the other direction. Um, and when you face the challenge, like let's say the Zuni challenge, or when it didn't get made, how did you deal with all of that stuff? Because people, when you're as a young kid, we don't have any say in it, but when we are born into a family where we have certain things given to us, sometimes it's difficult for people to turn things around. I don't know how did you handle
If you
that?
read my book Zikr, which is like a begins with a dialogue with my father, and then you'll realize how he's very, with, systematically, with great calculation, purged feudalism out of my system, and that getting out of the feudal mindset has been the greatest evolution in my life. Because India was born with the curse of feudalism. Some countries are still living with feudalism, our neighbors. So getting the feudalism out of you and then getting even capitalism out of you was a big journey for me. And then you begin to see everything from a very human point of view. You see it from the point of view of a faqir, So there, everything that you're putting into the frame is blessing, what I mean? It's got no conditioning of any past, any kind of anything I was born with. I'm born then and there when I'm behind the camera.
That's so beautiful.
And then Zuni was a very big journey. It was something which would have changed the history of filmmaking in India. It would have also might have changed the history of India itself. Because the point is that if people of Kashmir are felt by the rest of the country and the rest of the country feel for the people of Kashmir, I think the narrative changes. The point is that when you're presenting a destination, or when you're presenting a locality, or when you're presenting a culture, it depends how deeply you want to impact the world. And for me, the journey was a little more convoluted. And I was working with Air India, and in that, I was trying to promote a certain kind of tourism, conference tourism, and I had set my heart on Kashmir, and I got some experts to come and help me. I hadn't made a film with it. And when I completed that whole project, this is the Sher Kashmir International Center, he said, if you make a film on the history and culture and of the valley, a legend you can find, which covers the four seasons, this place is sold forever.
Wow.
It was a very big marketing thought, I mean, to sell Kashmir.
Yeah,
Youth of Kashmir, everybody knows, but to make it tangible, to make it felt, to make a narrative with emotions in it.
And the Four
That
Seasons.
and the four seasons was a big challenge, and I just slept with the challenge. So when I finished Raja and Anjuman, and Anjuman went to Vancouver, and then I realized that they just released The Last Emperor, and then I realized that the world is ready for accepting the East. That way, The Last Emperor. So I think
Full movie as well, yes.
if we can present something like The Last Emperor out of India, and in a totally global language, with a complete global vocabulary. I think we've got a winner there.
Was missed out, but maybe the painting series can
Yeah. Depends if I can
revive it a little.
live up to that challenge.
Tell me one thing, you're very close to nature. I know for a fact that, I'd seen a few paintings of yours which had leaves in them, and I know you go walk around and you pick up leaves and you feel every part of nature tells a story. Yeah, your house has lovely dogs and you've got a horse and you're sort of surrounded or you're living with nature and you're very um, attuned to what is happening around. That's the sense I've had whenever I've met you. Is that something that has come naturally to you, or is it something that you've developed?
Well, I'm definitely disturbed by the imbalance in nature. Any little imbalance in nature disturbs me. I feel we are responsible for that imbalance. So we have to address that imbalance in art. That's the only way I can address it. I can't address it through talking. I can just address it through feeling it on canvas.
Yeah, we all have
Yeah.
platform. Yours is art.
And I have everything connected. For me, poetry is a very important way of responding to nature. I'm not a poet, but I respond to poets in a very deep way. I see beyond what they are all about. And I see what they are saying, how it can impact my art. You know what I mean? So that is a full journey, which through poets, through poetry, and feeling for this acute imbalance of the world, imbalances in the world. So this is a part of my journey.
See, speaking about poets and how they've influenced you, they impact you, and you revived Sufism in India, and you made it popular. Youngsters today on Instagram have quotes of Rumi, which was probably unheard of 2 decades ago. What was your journey into Sufism like, and what was the genesis of this beautiful music festival, Jahane Khusro, that you started, and it changed things in India, globally, in fact.
Actually, it was a gift
Hmm.
from Kashmir. It was born out of the turmoil and the insurgency. Really. Everything hits you and everything makes something out of. Every disappointment has its own kind of.
Yeah, I do think that there's a silver lining in every
तो
challenge
कहते हैं
somewhere.
हमने अपने इरादों के टूटने से अल्लाह को पहचाना. तो वो जो एक इम्पैक्ट था कश्मीर का, वहाँ मुझे लगा कि अभी तसव्वुफ यानी सूफीज़्म जिंदा है उनकी शायरी में, उनके सूफियाना कलाम में, उनके उनके साज में, उनकी आवाज़ में. तो व्हेन आई फिल्म वाज गेटिंग in a way sabotaged by this situation, I was imbibing a lot of kind of concerns, through this form of art. And when I came back to Delhi, I realized ke, how do I reinvent myself? How do I, what have I gained from this traumatic journey of Kashmir? And then I realized that it's really poetry that can, of the mystics, the music of the mystics that can create a healing balm for the world.
Yeah, and it is healing. There is so much love, which is across genders, across sociocultural norms. Uh, that poetry, that music has such a healing power.
Then I realized, I had this great opportunity to, it was kind of an epiphany that one could think of Jahan e Khusro, And in fact, when I came and settled in Delhi, I met Sheila Dikshit and she asked me, आप लखनऊ छोड़ के आए हैं, मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ आपके लिए? So I said, this is a city of saints. And if I can do something for them, it will be a big thing. So she said, oh, I was thinking of the same thing. So we decided on working on Amir Khosrow. She said, nobody's going to interfere. What you do is your this thing. So we started this Jahan e Khosrow. And Jahan e Khosrow was, in a way, a seamless cinema. You know what I mean? For me, it was like a screen, with no artificial
Music, dance,
with no artificial props and sets. It was just ruins and writing with light. And that is something that gave me a new way of expressing myself. And the biggest challenge was to work with a variety of artists. And I felt that it was very easy to work with artists as long as they surrender and you surrender. So surrender is the most important aspect in Sufism, and that is what caught on. That's what made people feel कि अरे जो चीज सरेंडर से मिल सकती है वो और तरीका नहीं है कोई.
It's such a powerful word. I've gone through, like everybody who's lived a few decades on this planet has gone through ups and downs. And this word surrender is what has revived me. Because till I was saying, I will do this, I can do this is me, this is my achievement, there was so much ego, and then the ego needs to be broken down, and sometimes it's broken down very rudely. uh, but when I surrendered to a higher power, I just found clarity coming. I found direction, and things just kind of fell into place magically, for the lack of a better word.
See, surrender के साथ belief is also very important.
Yeah.
Faith is very important. You don't surrender without belief.
Yeah, you can't. If you don't have faith and belief, you can't.
That's where the art comes from. That's the back door. So, and then, art invigorates you, it just gives you so much. And because it's giving you through people.
True.
And I work with people, and I work through people and I work for them. So actually, what I'm doing is I'm doing it for somebody else. I feel I'm doing it for myself, but actually, it's that little response and smile on your face when you see my art. That is what art is.
It's true. Well, in fact, when I come to your place, it's it's just a very soothing space. Everywhere I look, every corner is, tastefully, beautifully, artistically done, and it's a very, it feels like very safe space. I don't know how to explain it.
So that's why I don't allow cameras here. I mean, that's
Yeah, it's.
going a little far, but in Kutwara, I've shot all my films.
But tell me about Kotwara, because you said you work for the people and you work with them. Reviving chicken curry and getting into fashion design was probably very different
See,
path.
it's a long and connected story. Kutwara has been the kickoff point for me as far as my art is concerned. Because my first film, Gaman, is based on why people leave
Yeah, that's
a
what.
village and go to a big city and lead hybrid lives, and then they are lost actually. You saw what happened in the pandemic. So it's really a very, in a way, it's a point of no return. And that was like haunting me when I got into a new shade of art, which was film. I mean, I kept thinking, and I kept sketching, and I kept writing. And when I was making this film, I was working with Smita Patil, and she said, "When you think so much about this place, why didn't you do something here?" So that was a big question, and I had no answer because I couldn't think of leaving Bombay and coming back
To Lucknow.
to Kotwara. I mean, going there and doing something like that is one thing, but
To leave Bombay in the middle
yeah,
of all this filmmaking and you say, okay, I'm
filmmaking and
go and live in
I was in
Kotwara
a job also
and then go into what?
was something I couldn't think of. So from that time onwards, this Kotwara has been haunting me. And when my father passed away, that's the time when I had no choice but to take on Kotwara. Meera and I just decided to do something there. And the concept that appealed to me was द्वार पे रोजी कि इनके द्वार तक रोजी पहुंचना चाहिए तो हमने सोचा क्या हो सकता है समथिंग विच कम्स organically, something which is beautiful, something which is kind of nearest to this culture. And then I found a lot of interesting pieces in my mother's wardrobe, which was something exquisite. I mean, Chicken tells us, I mean, a very beautiful story when it's properly thought of and done. So I said, why don't we give them this art?
Yeah, which has been in the region
Yeah.
for generations.
It's got 36 stitches. So it's got a vocabulary. It's like poetry.
Put the 36 alphabets in whichever way.
You can do anything with it. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, because I read somewhere where your father had said in his will that nobody in Kotwara should go hungry.
Yeah, well. Actually, that was a driving point.
So to create something.
Yeah, but I haven't looked back. Kutwara, I made Kutwara into a product. I made Kutwara into a feeling. I made Kutwara into an experience. Although I've not succeeded very well because I'm not a good businessman.
You're an artist.
I'm an artist, and I've uh, put forward my claim. I've put forward my intention, and I may not have succeeded.
No, no, I think you have because there is a certain brand that people associate with you because you've always done what's close to your heart, and that shines through. I think in every project that you undertake. So tell me what does stress you?
I think the human condition, when people lose faith in each other, when people start differentiating, between, caste and religion, I think it's a very sad state of affairs, because human beings are not made for that. They've been made into that.
And it's such a powerful thought, and that's true
So
because we
that
weren't born hating.
no. So that depresses me a lot, and I've done a lot of things to address that, and I have not succeeded. But maybe I have succeeded through Jahan Khusro, to some extent.
No, I think you have bridged so many barriers and you open doors. It's it's also now up to the rest of us to, you
Yeah,
know,
I think
catch the thread and
film
take
is
it
very
forward.
important for me because I think it takes you very far.
Mhm.
Painting is intimate and intense, but film really takes you very far. And I've got a lot of films up my sleeve, one on Rumi, and so many
Yeah,
other
that's
films.
such a powerful one, and I do
I
wish it
think
gets made.
that's what depresses me when people don't believe in me.
Um, how do you deal with rejection, or how do you deal with this lack of belief that people have?
Chill,
Chill. How do you chill?
paint.
Paint.
I meet people, I'll enjoy their talk and smile, and I just chill.
So you basically learn to let go of that.
Samarpan.
Samarpan. Samarpan. What would, Muzaffar today advise the Muzaffar of, let's say, 30, 40 years back? What's the one piece of advice you would give to a younger version of
Just
yourself?
follow your heart. Ishq is important. And that you get from nature, you get from animals, you get from human beings. So that special feeling of ishq is a very, it has no conditions, you know what I mean? It's a very ethereal experience, which can't be described.
Follow your heart. I think that's good advice for anybody. What would you advise some young people watching today? What's the advice you would give to the young generation that is starting their lives out?
Come to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How should they approach you?
Just approach today. Everybody's approaching everybody. But you have to do it the right way.
Yeah, that's true.
And I have to be in the right state of mind. Maybe you can help me with it.
Who knows? I don't know. But thank you for your vote of confidence, Muzaffarji, and thank you so much for taking the time out to do this with us. I'm really, really.
You've taken the time out. I'm sitting in my home.
But you made the effort to sit here and have a chat with me and reminisce a little bit and give some advice. So I'm really grateful for that. Thank you so much. That's it on Unbox with Tanvi, and we'll catch you again on another episode.